Hey everyone, Scott here to discuss 101 Dalmatians 2 Patch's London Adventure, featuring the voices of Barry Bostwick, Jason Alexander, Martin Short, Barry Lockwood, Suzanne Blakesley, and Jodie Benson, directed by Jim Camerud and Brian Smith. Now, this is my only viewing, or two viewings of this. I had to watch it twice for this viewing because I've never seen this before. But let's see how it is. Let's get into this. It's been not too long since the events of the original 101 Dalmatians, and Pongo, voiced by Samuel West, narrated that the day before moving day, the 101 Dalmatians with Pongo and Perdita, and their masters Roger and Anita, voiced by Jodie Benson, and the animation isn't as good as the original film from 1961, as this movie focuses on Patch, voiced by Bobby Lockwood, who wants to be like his hero Thunderbolt, voiced by Barry Bostwick, as they eat and watch the Thunderbolt Adventure Hour TV show, with the sidekick Lightning, voiced by Jason Alexander. And they all watch it on the TV, and I personally would rather watch that than this movie, in my opinion. While Patch doesn't bark loudly like a regular dog, but admittedly, he's just a puppy, and Patch's arc of wanting to see Thunderbolt is a typical video sequel idea, as Thunderbolt is in London, as the Dalmatians with Roger, Anita, and Nanny move the next day. Cruella de Vil, voiced by Suzanne Blakesley's life, is wrecked thanks to the events of the original movie, and she gets in an art gallery to meet the artist of white and black spots named Lars, voiced by Martin Short, as he wants to create a masterpiece painting for Cruella. And the song she sings in that scene was not that great, to be honest, as Patch can't sleep at night and they move out without him. But these characters are mediocre at best, but unfortunately not the greatest in my opinion. It just felt like a typical video sequel. Patch arrives to meet Thunderbolt in London and wants to audition for the Thunderbolt Adventure Hour TV show that they watch, as there's other dogs that want to audition for the show, and Patch is the last person, or dog I'll say, to audition, and all the dogs and people laugh at Patch's tiny bark, which honestly isn't a smart way for the script to laugh at Patch's bark, as he's just a puppy. And it's not a good script. Lightning tells Thunderbolt that he dies on the next episode of his TV show. Lightning wants to take over the show, is what that really is the plot of. And I thought to myself on my first viewing, is Lightning's voice, is that Jason Alexander? It took me until when credits rolled to find out it was his voice, and it was bothering me for my whole first viewing. Thunderbolt gets out of his trailer, panics, so the producers doesn't replace him, and bumps into Patch, and he wants to help people and other animals to get the attention of the press, and that scene is pretty dreadful. Cruella wants better art than what Lars gives her, as she's a harsh critic of art, and I think his art is good, but it's a cartoon. But either way, he does good art, but I'm not really caring for this scene in my mind. Thunderbolt tries to find a way to get the press to see his heroic duties and takes Patch with him, and they develop a relationship as Patch wants to be on the show with Thunderbolt, which is a fanboy thing, as they cause shenanigans, and I can't relate with Patch as he's supposed to be the protagonist with Thunderbolt, and Thunderbolt is unreliable too, which is really unfortunate. If I were Lars when it comes to Cruella because of her critical art suggestions, I would just have nothing to do with her. As Thunderbolt and Patch are getting to know one another, Thunderbolt is slowly warming up to Patch. Meanwhile, when Roger and Anita get to the farmhouse they move into, the other Dalmatians chase chickens around, and Roger learns Patch is still in London, as Cruella figures out where the other Dalmatians are at and gets Jasper and Horace out of prison to capture the Dalmatians successfully, this time as Nanny tries to beat them up again, but they eventually get away from the farm and Nanny herself as they try to trap her in the well, which is an interesting brief battle as Lars loves the puppies and takes them for art reasons as Cruella wants to take their fur, and Lars betrays Cruella as she tells him up. And not only am I feeling bad for Lars, but the other Dalmatians themselves. They make another call saying Cruella took them again, with the dogs, I'll say, and the call for other dogs helping all over London. And this plot is, after the 1996 movie, is getting rather familiar as it's cliche. After the original 101 Dalmatians, Patch and Thunderbolt hear the dog's calls, while Thunderbolt tries to tell Patch the truth about him, but helps him out instead, and Lightning overhears and goes after Thunderbolt, and Patch as they get in the building, and Cruella knocks out Thunderbolt as Jasper and Horace put him in a cage with Patch, and Lightning tells Patch his evil plan for Thunderbolt, and he finally tells Patch he's an actor, and by telling this dog, I'm talking about Patch. While they're all trapped in these scenes are depressing me half to death, but the acting in this is mediocre too. Patch gets an idea after one of the other dogs as he gets the other Dalmatians out while Thunderbolt stays in the cage, but he'll be out eventually as this movie is a little predictable, thanks to the 1961 movie. Jasper and Horace wake up while the Dalmatians get out of Cruella's hideout, and Cruella almost catches Patch and Thunderbolt, releases Lars as they get on a bus in London without a driver, and they go all over the streets in London while Cruella, Jasper, and Horace chase the Dalmatians, and they bump into Lightning while in the middle of the chase gets filmed, and Patch gets an idea from what he saw on the TV to save one of his siblings, and they almost get killed until Thunderbolt comes into the rescue and plays dead as Cruella and Jasper and Horace get knocked down, and they get knocked out with Lightning in the water, or pushed in, I'll say, with the bus, and Pongo and Perdita come in after the bad guys are in the water, and they get arrested by the police, and Cruella goes to a mental house, and Pongo and Perdita and Nanny, Anita, and Roger arrive, and the paparazzi come in, and the climax is predictable, as it's almost the same movie as the original, but about one of the puppies. Now it's time for the rating. I'll give this movie a 4.6 out of 10. This is the second best of the video sequels I've seen, with Mulan 2 being the first, as it was a mild recommendation, but this one is a mild non-recommendation. This movie was a little bit predictable, as it's almost the same movie but about one of the puppies, and these characters are adequate at best. The acting in this was just okay, but not great by any means, but the Dalmatian puppies are cute to look at. And there were times it was sad, but unfortunately, it's not enough for me to like this movie. And now we're near Cruella, and the only good one is the 1961 animated film, as I'm very worried to walk into this movie theater for Cruella. But we'll see next time. So we'll be back next time with Cruella. And until next time, Cruella de Vil.